And so a recording will be available. We'll also have that available on our YouTube account within a few days of the webinar. So if you have to pop off or step away, not to worry, we'll have a recording available for you as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce and hand the conversation over to Nick Hauser. Again, Nick is the Internal Communications Specialist at UC Davis Health. Prior to joining UC Davis, Nick was in Marketing and Communications Manager for the Sacramento Children's Home. He brings over 15 years of email marketing experience to the conversation today. And again, as I mentioned, he'll be sharing emerging trends in the evolving landscape today. So excited to have you with us. Thank you again, Nick. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Casey. As Casey said, my name is Nick Hauser, internal specialist at UC Davis Health. So the project that I kind of based this presentation on, I did while at the Sacramento Children's Home. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So before I kind of dive in, we'll just cover some things that we're going to discuss here. So this is all about how you can find the right time, day, sender name for your organization, subject line keywords that worked and some that don't. Of course, that was based on my findings. Hopefully they work for you, or they give you an idea of things to test. Email aspects that you can A/B test that are very easy. I know for me, I read a lot about you should A/B test, but nothing really talked about what to A/B test or how to do that. And just some additional email considerations to think about, strategies to try, some best practices, a couple of stats that should be helpful moving forward. So where this all began, I was with the Sacramento Children's Home, and we were just kind of blindly sending emails. We were hitting out the whole entire 5,500 person list. I was sending out at about 6:30 a.m. on a Thursday because of gut instincts. And then I just kind of realized, am I sending these emails at the right time and on the right days? So I Googled it, right? That's kind of what we do as marketers, we Google it. And this is what I got from 10 different articles, 10 different times. So this one, 1 to 2 p.m. Another one said 8 to 9 a.m. This one said down here said 10 a.m. This one said 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. It depends. So not really consistent, all over the map, and didn't really speak to my organization personally. So what I did was I looked back at 3 years worth of sent emails. It was about 150 emails. And I just logged them in a simple Excel spreadsheet. Across the top, I put subject line, day sent, time sent, the sender name. We tested out a bunch of different sender names. The amount of people we sent it to, so full list or a targeted specific list. And then I tracked the open rates, the click-through rates, and the unsubscribes. 3 years worth, 150 emails. It sounds pretty daunting. I promise it wasn't as bad as it sounds. It was a little bit overwhelming, but really in the end, it took me about 8 hours total, spread out over a week, maybe 2. And the results that I was able to grab from that data were so worth it. So we're going to just jump into kind of the results that I found. Again, the caveat here is these are the results that I found based on the Sacramento Children's Home's emails. I encourage you to do all of this for your emails at your organization, your company. You'll really find some good data in there. So some of this might not translate, or some of this might give you a launching place to try. And hopefully it works out for you, or at least gives you an idea. So the very first thing that we found was segmented targeted emails to smaller groups work way better than mass emails sent to a mass list of all of your folks, right? So you're segmenting to people that care about this particular subject. So at the Children's Home, we have lots of different programs, right? Now, if we just send, hey, will you make a donation to everybody, it'll have one set of results. Now, if we send, hey, will you make a donation to the crisis nursery specifically, just that one program, whether you've heard of it or not, to our full list, it's probably going to do a little worse. But if we take everybody who has given to the crisis nursery at least once in the last 2 years, and we send them an email, much smaller list, and we say, hey, we noticed that you've given to the crisis nursery before. Would you be willing to give to this program again for this specific project? It's going to be, they're going to be more willing because they've already shown that interest. They're already, targeted. So that's what I mean by segmented, targeted emails to smaller groups, the groups that care about a specific subject. And if at any point you need me to clarify anything, jump in the chat, let me know. I'm happy to clarify anything. So number 2, at least in my key findings over our research, our data, I found that including the word photos in the subject line led to a massive increase in open rates. The emails with the subject line, with photos in the subject line, overwhelmingly had larger open rates than any other email. You can kind of guess. I kind of guess that's maybe speaks to some vanity. People wanted to see, they went to the event, they want to see if they're in a photo that they can use for Facebook or Instagram, is likely why. Likewise, related content about events, whether that was pre-event, inviting you to an event, giving you details about an event, or post-event, those did really well. The 4th finding was that I tried this trick, and it's putting "re" in the subject line as if the conversation is already started. There's a small caveat though. It does really, really well for open rates. It is a little bit of trickery though. So I would say if you're going to use "re" in the subject line, make sure that the content inside of your email absolutely matches the subject line. You probably saw an email from me yesterday through AMA saying personally inviting you to the webinar tomorrow. I felt comfortable doing that because we've already had the conversation, right? I've already sent out a couple of emails. So hopefully you are aware of the webinar coming up. So it's not really new information to you. I'm not just randomly appearing out of the blue, right? I can tell you though that through the Children's Home, we sent one from our CEO that said, your support through this year. And it listed in bullet point format all of the things that the donors helped us accomplish throughout the year. But then really at the end, it was, you helped us do all this year, but will you make an end of the year donation? And I could see it in the unsubscribes. A lot of people felt tricked. They kind of went into it thinking, oh, I want to see what I supported. Oh, now you're actually asking me for more money. Didn't like that. The unsubscribes were pretty overwhelming. So using "re" in the subject line, it helps for open rates, but use it sparingly, use it smartly, and make sure that it matches the content. No trickery. Some key findings on the negative side, our holiday emails, they didn't do well. So it led to this whole conversation. Well, do we even want to spend time sending holiday emails? The open rates were low. There was no click. It was just us saying, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. But surprisingly, the unsubscribes were pretty massive as well. I think it's a time where they get inundated by all of these holiday messages from all these businesses and organizations, and they just decide then and there, like, now's a good time to unsubscribe. So just something to think about. The Children's Home decided, you know what, it still means something to us to be able to wish our donors happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. So we're still going to do it. Now in the nonprofit world, Big Day of Giving and Giving Tuesday are huge events. So I kind of found it interesting that any emails with Big Day of Giving or Giving Tuesday in the subject line did not perform well. They did not have good open rates. So that led us to ditching those phrases, even if the context was about these two giving events. We would find different ways to write our subject lines so that they would get opened. And then clear asks in terms of, again, nonprofit world, clear monetary asks for us, where it was just super obvious we're asking you to donate your money. Those are the easiest ones to ignore. So not really a surprise there. And then multiple emails about the same subject. So for a little bit of context, that means usually about 3 emails about, say, an event or a campaign was about the sweet spot. Anything after 3, we were seeing just a massive drop off in terms of open rates and click-throughs, conversions. And again, whether that was events or campaigns, donation campaigns, you send it once, there's some interest, you send a follow-up, you get a little more interest, maybe the people who already committed drop out, but you're reminding people, oh, okay, yep, this is top of mind. You send one more that's kind of like an urgency. You know, you might be within the last day of a sale or last day for a deal. You know, you need to remind them today. But usually that 4th, that 5th email that I think a lot of times we were tempted to send, that's where the steep drop off happened. Nobody cared anymore. They've seen it 3 times. They don't need to see it a 4th time. They don't need to see it a 5th time. So in terms of best day and time, again, this is just the findings from 3 years of Sacramento children's emails. But I just thought it was really fascinating that all of those articles told me that it was the best time was 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., right? But according to my own data, 8 a.m. was the 2nd worst time for us to send emails. So on the left here, these are the 5 best times. On the right here, these are the 5 worst times. 5 a.m. being the worst, 8 a.m. second worst, 6 p.m. being the best, and 9 a.m. being the second best. And here I thought Thursday was the best day, and there was no doubt about it. Turns out Monday was the best day. And that the other days of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weren't too far behind. And then confirmed weekends for us did terribly. So again, I just did this in a super basic Excel spreadsheet. I took all of the hours, I sorted everything, I pulled out every email sent in the 6 o'clock hour and took their open rates, took their click rates, and gathered the averages. So just a good strategy for you guys. If you have the time to look back, you can tag team this with a coworker or a colleague. Go through the data you already have, sort out when you've sent emails, and find the best times for you, find the best days for you. You might be surprised. We even tested sender name. So I just sent my first name, my full name, my first name only at the company acronym, you know, Nick at Sacramento Children's. I won't go through all of these, but 2 things stood out. My full name at my full organization. It was very clear who I was and where I worked. That got one of the biggest open rates, the biggest open rate. You know, you'll see just my first name also had a large open rate, but there wasn't as good of an effect with the click-through rate. And I think that's because when you just send it as your first name, the thinking is probably Nick. Well, who's Nick? I know a lot of Nicks. Which Nick is this? And then they open it up and they find out it's a nonprofit email that they don't actually know this Nick. And now they're kind of bummed out. They're going to unsubscribe. They're going to delete the email, right? It's very clear. Nick Hauser, Sacramento Children's Home. What does he want? What does he have to say? So that was the best sender name. Again, test it out for yourself. Send as your organization versus just send as one person's name. Best practice for this, what I have read, is names always do better than organizations. But it helps if your users, your email subscribers know who you are, right? So we would send a lot of emails from our director of philanthropy. He was pretty well known in the area. Every so often you can kind of switch it up then, and we would use our CEO's name. But if you're using like a random name that nobody really knows, like if I just all of a sudden threw in like, you know, I'm trying to think of just like some random program manager's name that people don't really know and they've never conversed with, it might not work as well. So to wrap up all that data, the best email, hypothetically, based on all this data, should be an email sent to a specific targeted group from Nick Hauser at Sacramento Children's Home on a Monday at say 6:30 p.m. And it should be something along the lines of photos from this event, right? That should be the best email ever. So we sent something, okay? We sent a targeted group to 688 people who had donated to the Crisis Nursery since 2018. We sent it on a Monday at 6:30, sent it from my name at the Children's Home. And the subject line was will you consider joining this group? That was as eventy as we could make it, okay? Our average open rate was 25%. Our average click rate was 1%. And this particular email had a almost 41% open rate and an almost 4% click-through rate. And this was people actually joining a monthly giving program. So it's a pretty big ask. So pretty excited about that, right? Found all this data, plotted all the points, and then tested it and saw some success. Let's see. So there's a question real fast before I move on. What would you recommend as a starting point for email marketing if you are just starting and don't have legacy data to analyze? That's a fantastic question. I would say if you don't have 3 years worth and you have a year's worth, start there. That's better than nothing, right? If you don't even have a year's worth, you're a brand new company, you're a brand new organization, just starting, I would start tracking everything from the get-go. Send that first email, track everything. Send the second email, track everything. Once you have 5 emails, you'll have a better picture than you would without any of that data. Once you have 10 emails, you'll have even more. And you just build it up as you go. So I would say start now. I'm going to speed up a little bit because we only have about 10 minutes left. So 5 trends that I found for effective subject lines. I went through a training with a group called nextafter.com. Check that out if you have time. But here we go, really fast. Five tips for subject lines. Number 1, leave just enough information out of the subject line. You got to build that mystery. So in the nonprofit world, we used to say, we need your help collecting backpacks. People would see backpacks. I don't want to donate a backpack. I'm not doing it. Delete. Then we changed it to, we can't believe kids go to school without these. Now they're going to at least open because they want to see, well, is it a backpack? Is it shoes? Is it food? What is it? Is it binders? So we've got them to open it, and now we can tell the compelling story. Kids go without a backpack, and here's why that's bad, and here's why we need your help, and here's how easy it is. And now we've at least done our first step of hooking them. Number 2 is utility. Imply there is something useful or interesting to the reader. So we gave it away once when we were trying to get volunteers, right? We said giving back produces dopamine. Okay, it's useful. It's kind of interesting, but you already told me. Great, I'm done now. I don't need this email. Versus adding in the utility and the mystery, this simple act will improve your mental health. Now I want to know what it is. It's volunteering. 3, adding the word you in a natural way will do wonders for your open rates. So we sent out, when we first returned to tours, sorry about that. When we first returned to tours after COVID, we said tours have returned, got 0 response. We waited a couple of weeks, we sent out another one. We said, would you like to take a private tour? And all of our tours filled up and had waiting lists. 4 is recency, use time relevance indicator words. So timing is super, super important for best practices. When we would send out subject lines that said big day of giving is next month, great. Why should I care about that right now? Versus today is a special day. Well, why is today a special day? Why isn't tomorrow a special day? It's got that mystery. It's got the recency. Same thing with events. Think about this. If you have an event on Saturday, you want to send out your email thanking them with the photo album and a save the date Monday, Tuesday latest. If you waited 2 weeks to send out the follow-up email, do people care anymore? Probably not. 5 is authenticity. So avoid coming off as opportunistic. This one can be a little bit challenging because we're selling products, we're selling services. So it's hard, right? An area that we've kind of played with this was subject line 1. We said, this is your last chance. And that was for like an end of year giving. People saw right through it. They were like, or what? What if this is my last chance, or what happens? Nothing. Versus if we just said, hey, can you help us reach our goal? It adds that you in there. There's a little bit of mystery. You're kind of wondering what the goal is. People clicked it. They said, okay, this is my last chance to get a tax deductible donation made. But really, I care more about the goal and helping you guys out and seeing if I can get you a little closer. So apologies, I'm talking really, really fast. A couple more things that you can consider just A/B testing. You can do a letter format from an individual or a newsletter from an organization. You can put pictures in, or you can try sending your emails without any pictures. You can try adding buttons, or you can try it just with raw links. And similar to the first one, you can do a long explanation versus a short and sweet explanation. So here's an example. On the left, this colorful one is something we used to send for Big Day of Giving. Pretty short and sweet, right? It's be part of something big. Here's our goal. Click here to donate. Here's 3 ways to give. It's colorful. It's cute. There's pictures. We didn't get a very good response. People kind of saw right through it, and they were like, I'll give on Big Day of Giving if I remember. We switched to this letter format on the right. It came from our CEO. We over-explained everything. We said, hey, I'm sure you've seen dozens of emails about Big Day of Giving. We're participating too. We have this goal of $100,000. Here's why it's important. Here's what your money will do. Now more than ever, we need your support. And then we explained what that means. It's quite the goal. We can't do it without you. Will you consider donating? Thank you for all your support. It looks like an email. It looks like Dr. David Baker actually wrote this himself. Sorry, he didn't. And people thought they were responding to David and not just clicking a button to go to the Children's Home Donate page. So just something to test out. Just think about it. Here's a very quick argument for why you should not include pictures. If it goes to an email server that blocks these immediately, say you have your company logo and then that awesome graphic you made to shout out about the new product, and they show up in somebody's inbox like this. That is not fun, kind of ugly. So again, not saying scrap the photos, just something to consider. Quick thoughts on buttons, same thing. If I'm trying to get somebody to subscribe to the newsletter, right? On a button, click here to sign up. Can I guarantee I know exactly where this button goes? There might be some hesitancy. Especially from, our donors were a little bit older. They did not like buttons. They didn't know where they went. They hated bit.lys and the tiny URLs even worse, because they see this and they're like, I have no idea what that is. I'm not clicking on it. Versus where if we spelled it all out, kidshome.org, subscribe to our newsletter, they know exactly where they were going. There was no surprises, no trickery. Again, just something to consider. So last couple minutes, just storytelling is incredibly, incredibly important. Consider the fact that everybody, you've probably seen this a million times. We need you now more than ever because of the unprecedented global pandemic. Everybody's saying the same thing, right? So how do we differentiate ourselves? Well, it's about storytelling. What does that mean now more than ever? What does that mean to your organization? Is it truthful? Do you need your consumer now more than ever? If so, why? Tell them why. Spell it out, explain it. Don't be afraid to try out that lengthy email. See what happens. And then just finally, real fast, a couple of stats. Storytelling is 22 times more memorable than facts, according to Forbes. And then the rest of these are all courtesy of HubSpot. 20% of emails are not optimized for mobile. So I would say don't just click the mobile button and look at it inside your desktop or laptop. Actually send it and then look at it on your cell phone. I've run into that myself, where the mobile button, it looks good, and then I send it, and then I look at it on my own cell phone and it looks horrible. There's a picture that's fuzzy. There's a picture that was supposed to be small that's massive. A picture that was supposed to be big is tiny. The font sizes didn't translate. The colors are off. So definitely send it to yourself on your cell phone and test it that way. 35% of marketers send their customers 3 to 5 emails per week. I know a big question on best practices is how many times should I send an email? My response would be test it. I tried to convince my organization to scrap the monthly newsletter. I didn't think anybody was waiting on pins and needles the first Tuesday of the month for the Sacramento Children's Home newsletter. So I said, hey, let's just, instead of reusing content every single month, as things come up, let's just put out an email. It makes more sense. One call to action, one focus. I would say try it out if you're brave enough. If you are sending one a month and you think you should send more, try sending one every other week and look at your open rates, look at your click rates and your conversions, see what happens. If you're sending one a week and you don't feel like, and you're getting too many unsubscribes, scale it back, try to do every other week. If you Google it, you're going to get 12 different answers. 74% of baby boomers think email is the most personal channel to communicate with brands. As a nonprofit, I can definitively say our older generation thought that those personalized emails were directly to them and them only, and they would respond and they would say, you know, so happy with the work you guys do, here's a donation. Versus when we sent just a kind of standard from the organization, can you make a donation? And 99% of email users check their inbox every day, with some checking 20 times a day. And of those people that check 20 times a day, 58% of them check their email first thing in the morning. So again, just something to think about and something to consider. So that was super, super fast. Quick summary, just use the data you already own to find what works best for you. If you don't have any data yet, start today. That's going to help you define your own organization's best practices. A/B test everything, the send times, the days, the sender names. Then A/B test the layout of your emails, the formats, pictures or no pictures, buttons or raw links. And tell different stories. What sets you out from your competitor? Tell the stories that no one else is telling, or tell the stories that everybody's already telling, but tell them better, over explain them. And that was a very fast webinar. We have reached 1 o'clock, but I will stick around for any questions for a couple minutes. Otherwise, you guys are welcome to always, let's see, go to our LinkedIn group. It's in the chat right now. You can always hit us up on our LinkedIn group with questions if you think of anything later. But I'm going to turn the floor to you guys.
Thank you, Nick. That was a very quick and informative presentation. Really appreciate your insight into all of this as well. I think great starting point, great considerations for folks who want to reevaluate what is and is not working for their email marketing strategy. Looks like we have a question from Judy. Do you ever subscribe to a competitor's content to assess what they do? I can say I do all the time.
Absolutely. Yep. And when I was working with the children's home, I think I subscribed to probably 20 other nonprofits' emails. And I will happily still steal whatever I thought looked great. And I would sometimes see them stealing content from me. Like I've seen an email that was basically copy and pasted from something I sent. So we all do it. Feel no shame about doing that.
Agreed. We also have a question from Mark. Did you A/B test your subject lines, or was that just a natural progression into better subjects?
So I took the content that I had sent first, that 3 years worth. I was not A/B testing anything yet. And then I did the 3-year research, and I kind of was able to pluck out what did really well. And that's where I kind of saw that the events were doing well, the photos were doing well. So I started testing those, kind of splicing those in a little more often. And then just kind of in my journey through just various, like, you know, joining AMA and getting the AMA daily and seeing the content that they put out, and seeing what our chapter puts out, and, you know, other resources, try this. I would just kind of try different things. Like that's how I found the putting in in the subject line. I was like, ooh, that is fascinating. I want to try that out, and tried it, and it worked magically the first time. And I was like, okay, well, let's just try it again, like see what happens. And every single time I've tried it, it has worked so well, minus the one time where I had the epically large unsubscribes because I did a terrible job and I tricked my audience. But it's worked well. And And now they make it so easy inside, MailChimp and MyEmma where you can A/B test. There's usually a button that says A/B test your subject line, and you can put in 2, sometimes 3. I always do that now, every single subject line, because it's right there. And so I take 2 or 3 that I think will work, A/B test them, let the system run it, and the system kind of takes over and says, okay, we'll send 10 emails of each subject line, and based on the winner, we'll send it to the rest. So very little work.
If you're not failing fast and often, are you even growing, right?
Right.
This last question, I actually kind of want to save this question for our LinkedIn group. If anyone is interested in Nick's take on favorite email marketing tools and platforms that you like the most, you're going to have to join our LinkedIn group to get his answer on that. Would love to hear other people's thoughts there as well. I'll paste the link to the group here in the chat one more time just to make sure that everyone has access. But again, Nick's take on the email marketing tools and platforms that he likes the most will be in our LinkedIn group. So thank you everyone again for participating in this short webinar with us. Thank you again to Nick for sharing your process, your wisdom, your insights. It's been a pleasure to hear about your journey and your learnings. Thank you everyone again. If anyone is interested in membership, growing this community locally, amasv.org is our website. Again, amasv.org for the website. We have individual and group memberships available as well. So thank you everyone again. Have a fantastic weekend ahead. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.